Hi and welcome to Watch the Time, and this video is a bit different. As you know, on my channel I do reviews on lots of different things. I've been away for a while, but I've just started doing reviews again, and I thought, I'm going to do a review of something completely different. I know I do mainly watches, and I am wearing quite an interesting watch, the Casio GBX 100. Loving this watch as an alternative to the sort of the standard square G-Shock. Great watch. This review is about the Tamiya M-08 Concept, which is basically the standard Tamiya M-08 out the box. So it comes in this rather nice box, which you can use as a carry case for the car, and that's what it is, the M-08 Concept chassis kit. You do get wheels but no tyres, but they're not wheels that you would use for racing. I've bought this specifically for racing. There's no motor and no body shell, it's just the chassis. So there you go, so we'll put that there. So the M-08, the reason I got it was because at my local club where I race touring cars, I've just got back into it. I'm not particularly great at touring cars, so I wanted to get more practice in, and the way I'm doing that is to run the Tamiya as well, which is obviously a little bit slower. It's kind of a stock class. The rules, I wouldn't say are set in stone in the club, but it's basically a stock chassis with, you're not supposed to run touring car bodies with wings, but some people do run touring cars, and some people, as you can see there, mine's not a touring car, mine's a hot hatch but with a wing. You shouldn't really have a wing. Stock 27 turn Tamiya 540 motor. You're limited with your pinion size to the standard 22. You can have hop ups, and you can change the diff for a ball diff or whatever, but I'll run through all the changes that I've made and tell you how I've got on. Now, out the box it was okay, but there's definitely, it's a Tamiya, it's not an expensive kit. If you buy the concept version, this is more, now I'd say this is probably better than the M-08R, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the bits that I've taken off it as well. So I'll quickly just give you a quick look at the chassis. So you can have a little look at that. As you can see, you can tell how good I am at racing at how nice my body shell is. This is the one I've actually been using. Yes, that's more like it. That's what we like to see. I've done, I think I've done about, so every time I go 4 races, so 4, 8, 12, done about 20 races so far with this, and found out a lot about the car. So I'll just quickly show you the car so you can have a look at it. You can see some of the mods that I've done, but I'll run through them. Okay, so I'm just going to tip out all the bits that I've taken off this car. Okay, so these are all the bits that I've removed from the car. So obviously you've got the shocks, which are okay. These are oil-filled shocks. They're okay, but there's no adjustment on them, and you have to use these like collar things, which are a pain. You can't get a fine adjustment. So that's the shocks. These are these little blue bits at the back, which hold on the arms, and the front one as well. You can see the blue one at the front, which is that piece. Front and rear shock towers. The front shock tower, to be fair, was absolutely fine. The rear shock tower is really quite bendy. Like, I can bend that no problem at all. Really bendy. I didn't like that. So they've been replaced with carbon fibre front and rear shock towers. So there's the rear, and there's the front. And obviously you've got these are the Year Racing shocks, adjustable. Battery mounting, I'm running a Shorty LiPo 2 cells, so I don't need all this gumph, and I've put a little carbon diddly on there. This is quite interesting. All these bits here, all this scaffolding runs down from here to here, so it basically sits on there and it comes out to these. Now I think when this is built, there's like a section here where the gearbox mounts to the chassis. This is a little bit flexible, and I think this was to stiffen that up, stiffen the body post up, and also to hold these arms quite stiff. But when you replace this bit, which I did, with the aluminium one, and then fit a nice fan on, it makes the back end a lot stronger and stiffer, and you don't need all this gumph on there. So I took all that off. This was the rear body post mount, and again, by replacing it with the carbon one, you don't need all that scaffolding. Well, Christ knows what that is. There's bits you've already seen, that's nothing to do with it. And then the steering. Now the stock steering, to be fair, is odd the way it's laid out, and it's fully ball raced, but all plastic, and it wasn't great. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I replaced it with the Year Racing, just sitting there, the Year Racing version. Again, all ball raced, all aluminium, works really well. The other thing you can do is you can swap the servo around, put a low profile servo horn on there, and just have it direct, which I don't particularly like that. This setup works absolutely fine for me. So that caster block in the front there, that changes the caster, it's there to 4 degrees. I don't know what difference that makes. I think the standard one that you get with it is 0. You can get 0, 4, 5, 6, whichever. I just went for 4 because that's what they had in stock, and it seems to work fine. I've also got aluminium hexes, like bolt together hexes on the wheel hubs, so that when you obviously when you take a wheel off, the hex doesn't fall off and the pin fall out, because you only get the standard sort of plastic ones with the kit, which are useless. I mean, if you're in a race and you're having to swap tyres or wheels for some reason, and you take a wheel off and you drop one of those pins, you're done. You know, scrabbling around trying to find that between races. So definitely you need the bolt-on hexes, and I just got Year Racing ones. They're blue, they match, but you never see them. I've also got anti-roll bars, the Tamiya anti-roll bar system. You can just see it in there. I literally just fitted it and forgot about it. It seems to work okay. The stock springs you get with it are really, really soft, and that's fine to start with, but you get a hell of a lot of body roll. But the car is neutral and quite nice to drive. Now, when you put the much harder shocks on and springs, you can obviously, I've got it lowered to 5mm at the front, 5.1 at the back. When you're running it in that configuration, you need to get your setup right, because it then becomes a problem with things like traction rolling and losing the back end. It can very quickly, this car I found, become undrivable. It seems to be very on the edge. Now, the majority of cars I'm racing are M-07s, which are the front wheel drive version, and they seem to be less finicky with setup. But when I saw someone racing an M-08, just a standard stock one, I thought there's potential there for a nice running car. But I wasn't prepared for how finicky this is on setup. So it's all set up on a setup station with my toe in, toe out camber. It's all set up, and I'm sort of tweaking it. I'm not going to give you the figures because it depends on where you are, what you run on. I run on carpet indoors, and I'm getting close to a good setup. I laid the rear shocks in more than standard. That seems to have helped with the traction rolling, and also gluing the tyres helped with traction rolling. I'm using a low centre of gravity 4000 lipo, which I think helps, having that really low centre of gravity, especially when you get these sort of fairly tall body shells, which are, you know, much taller than the touring cars. The issue I've had, and I'm kind of getting my head around it now, and I'm going to try it next week, a different system. Now, when you source the tyres, the first two races, and these are 5-minute races, the first two races, or the first race, it starts off first 4 laps. You don't know how you're going to get round because it understeers quite badly. You really need to warm the tyres up. Once the tyres are warmed up, it kind of comes into its own, and it drives beautifully. And then by the end of the first 5-minute run, it's running absolutely lovely. The second race, absolutely perfect from start to finish, faultless. But I did notice towards the end of the second race that it started to get a little bit snappy on the rear end, but it was okay. Third race, after 2-3 laps, completely undrivable. Couldn't get it round the track without it spinning out on the rear. Had so much front grip that the rear just couldn't hold on, and it would just spin out on every corner, no matter how, unless you went really slow, you couldn't get round the track. I actually thought it was broken. It was like, I don't know, I checked everything out, it was fine. So for the last race, I only sourced the rear tyres and I didn't touch the fronts. And again, it went back to being perfect. And that's what I mean about it kind of being on a bit of a knife edge. If you don't get your tyre sourcing right, you're going to run into problems, because those front tyres, once they grip in and heat up, they get so much grip that it can't hold on to the back end, and you just sort of go around a normal, say a 70-degree corner, and it just spins out on you. So this week I'm going to source all 4 tyres before the first race. Then before the second race, I'm going to do the rears and just the insides of the fronts. And then for the third and fourth race, I'm only going to source the rear tyres, because by then the fronts will have gripped in so well that it shouldn't be a problem for me. So I'm hoping that that's okay. The other things I've done, obviously there's a transponder. I've extended the front bumper to stop that flexing and breaking here when you hit things. You can either run the stock Tamiya TBLE, TBLO2 or 1 or whatever it is, or this sort of stock hobby wing, I think it's like the 1060, just a basic brushed ESC in there. So it's the whole idea of this is it's very affordable. It's a competitive class because everyone's running, really similar cars, really similar setups. I mean, my motors are good. They're just standard motors, but they're all running underwater. I know how to produce a decent Tamiya 540 motor, and obviously if you look at my wiring, I don't use connectors for the motor, those bullet connectors you see on Tamiyas, or those white connectors for your batteries. I don't use any of that. I use proper 5mm bullets for the battery and really nice thick chunky silicon wire for the motor, so there's no loss of power in my system. I use high quality grease in the gearbox. I use high quality oil in the diff, because this is an oil filled diff, and it's really nice. Oh, that's the other thing I've changed. I haven't got it there, the old one, but I have replaced the diff with the Yeah Racing one. It's still the plastic one. I haven't got the metal one yet, but the Tamiya one, after 1 week, which is 4 races, it went all crunchy, and I rebuilt it and it was still not nice. I kind of felt the need to shim it to make it right, but I bought the Yeah Racing one and it's been fine. This is done 4, 8, 12, probably 16 races, and it's absolutely fine. I haven't gone too mad with the rear diff oil, so I could probably go a bit thicker, but so I'm still kind of testing. So race wise, we have about anything between 15 and 20 of these running. So most of them are M07s. There's a few other M08s. So we usually have 2 or 3 heats and 2 or 3 finals, an A, B and a C final. In stock form, I could get into the B final. In this form, where it is now, I'm pretty competitive in the A final. So overall, I think it's good value. The stock M-08 Concept, it's a fun build, but there are, you will need a Dremel, you will need a drill. There's some really weird things that you have to do with this. When it comes set up, I've run out of I need to either put a plate in there or get longer grub screws, because my grub screws are hanging out for the just there for the droop, so I need to address that. I've got to take this off, and I think I'm just going to put a little metal plate in under there so the grub screws hit that rather than the plastic, so I can sort my droop out perfectly. The rear seems fine on the droop, I can get that, but not the front. And I suppose whilst these are intended for racing, a lot of people don't use, you know, all that setup. The other thing I've replaced is these little things, the ones that come with them, these little turnbuckles. The standard ones you get with it have these tiny little things you can barely get a spanner on, so I've replaced them front and rear. I haven't done the steering ones because I've set that and I don't need to change it, so that's not an issue. This is a really nice piece because it really strengthens up the back end. It looks cool, and it's got bolt holes ready to accept a fan. Now you can run the fan like that, like I've got it, or you can stick the fan over the end of the motor here. You can set it up as you want, but I don't have any overheating issues, and I prefer a fan to a heatsink. I think it just looks funky, sounds good when you turn it on. So just as a comparison, I'm going to show you my four-wheel drive touring car. This is an old, I think it's around a 2012 X-Ray. It's either a T3 or T4, so that's what I'm running in the touring car class. Bulletproof, really competitive car. Even though it's old tech, it still outperforms me. So I'm going to keep running this until I get to a point where I think I can't go any further with this car. It's the car that's holding me back at the moment. It's setup and me that's holding me back with this car. But this is a really nice bit of kit. It's been run outside before, not by me, but it's been run outside. But I could get a new chassis for it, but they're about 80 quid, and I only paid 80 quid for the whole for the chassis itself. And I just run that on 17.5, and as you can see, even though these are both technically 1/10 scale, quite a bit of difference in the size. And obviously we've got rear wheel drive, four wheel drive layouts. So I was hoping to get some running video of this, but it's really difficult to do in the club, and obviously I'm racing, so I have to get someone else to film it. But I will try and get that up at some point, some video of them running around. But I just wanted to give you my experience of running this car. These, just before I go, these for the shorty packs are quite nice, but they're actually not. They don't go in far enough, so I put foam on the pack so it fits perfectly, but it's a nice sort of aftermarket carbon item. What I would like to see is this whole bit, these wings, replaced with carbon fibre, so carbon fibre out to here, and then I mean, I could do away with it completely because my battery goes in really tight because I've got a squishy thing in here, so the battery goes in tight anyway, and I could just put a little bit of tape around either end and do away with it. But I think you've got a bit of crash protection on the side there to protect the battery, so I'm kind of leaving them on for now. But that's it. That's my Tamiya M-08 Concept, and as I say, this is raced every week, and really enjoying it. I think it's a lovely car. It's got all the setup that car's got. You can change, you know, pretty much everything on it, but it's a more affordable, and it's in stock form with a standard 540 Tamiya motor. They're not too quick, so it's a good way to dip your toe in, and then maybe progress on to the touring cars or fronties or something else. Okay, anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. If you've got any ideas for improvements, let me know. Or if there's any bits that I can add to bling it up even more, then that would be great. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.